Thanks, Kent, for joining us. I'm really pleased that you said yes to talking to us. So obviously the reason we're here is that from a Page Executive perspective, we not only help clients find talent and assess senior talent, but we also advise them on things like compensation structures, etc. And one of the things that Lego is doing, which is really interesting, is that you've incorporated CO2 emissions targets into your bonus structures for all of your salaried employees. So could you give me a bit of an idea of how that idea came about?
Yes, thank you. So the Lego Group has always cared about making sure that we leave the world a better place than when we got it, you would say. So this has been coming for a long time. The thought of emissions and taking care of the way that we produce and generally are as a Lego Group has been part of our annual reports for years. Stepping into this with our Lego brand framework in mind, which is our vision, purpose, and promises, which one of them is the Planet Promise, which is key for us, and how we basically from there we get inspired as to how we live those promises. So we've been trying to do that for a long time. Now, with that journey comes putting it into a bonus program. And that is the step we took entering into 24.
Okay. But you deliberately chose to include the whole employee population. So I know a lot of, and especially in Europe, a lot of businesses have included CO2 emissions targets or ESG targets from a broader perspective into exec compensation structures. But you sit in comp and bends, don't you? So what was the sort of thought behind including everybody in that bonus kind of conversation?
Yeah, so many listed companies would have stock option programs, etc., and they would, many of those have put in an ESG target into their long-term incentive program, for example. Many maybe don't have bonus programs for all employees, which we at the Lego Group, all employees have a bonus program. So no exception, whether or not it be our factory colleagues, retail colleagues, or office-based colleagues. You can divide the Lego Group into salaried and hourly workers as such, where the salaried workers are mainly in the offices. And this is our first step where we've included that for all the salaried employees, as you mentioned, as a first step, you could argue, to learn, but also maybe to go in and focus where the biggest impact would be.
Okay. And how did you start it? Because I'm assuming in order to launch such an initiative, and I know that, you know, when we, as Michael Page, talk to clients and customers, you know, some of the issues around these types of initiatives is to get the data right from the beginning before you start, especially talking to people about what is essentially their salary. So how long did it take to try and get the data piece right before you launch it?
We generally say that you should test out a bonus target or the objectives of the bonus target minimum 1 year before you actually put it in place. We've had experience with others where it's taken us 3 years. And this is simply because, and it's obvious when I say it, but you know, you're giving people an objective and paying out money based on that. And as soon as you do that, people tend to take it quite serious. You know, there's a saying, what you measure is what you get. But that's, you know, of course, that's one thing, and we firmly believe in that as well. We're not just putting into a bonus target, bonus program because we think that's, you know, we want to reward people on it. We do it because we want to incentivize for doing some really great things for the planet and leave it as a better place. So
from a Lego Group perspective, how are you measuring and tracking all of this data?
So that was one of the challenges we had to begin with, because one thing is putting it into an annual report, which we have experience from doing, but all of a sudden putting that into systems where you wouldn't have to have an army of people collecting the data on a daily basis, monthly basis, and then only to find yourself doing that all over again the following month, being able to report on it, follow up on it, etc., and take action. That requires a very systematic approach. Now, there's been a lot of lessons learned along the way, which system to use, you know, to use one system, because one thing is our own production. there's a scope 1, 2, 3, etc. We can go into that, but that's becomes very technical. But basically, you have your own production. We have our travel emissions, and we have company cars, etc. They are all in different systems. They are outsourced vendors, etc. And you have to collect all that information into one, and then deliver one target, right? One number. There's a lot of work that goes into this. We are not there yet. We will get there, hopefully. And until then, it's just a lot of different systems and a lot of people working hard to collect that and make sure that we achieve it.
And so you've launched it this year. So 2024 was the year you launched the initiative.
Yes.
So how did you sort of gear up to tell everybody this?
Many different things were put in motion, of course. It all starts with making sure that the board is aligned. You've got the executive leadership team. You've got an all-employee communication. You've got unions, works councils that have to be informed depending on the country, etc. So there's a lot of work going on as soon as you change something that impacts people's salaries. So just a lot of involvement of end users or with a user-centric end user-centric mindset, where we really make sure that we talk to a lot of people.
And was that sort of town halls, or is it little snippets of information? Is it communicating to senior management who then kind of escalate it to kind of, or they distribute to their teams?
We have town halls where we communicate different initiatives, but we also have a SharePoint where we communicate. Now, for the salary population, that made it easy. As soon as you move into the hourly population, you need to use different vehicles for that as well. But that's the next step. But we've made sure to share that in different ways as well.
And how has it been received?
Well, generally it's received very positively. So we are tracking, similar to the Lego Group, we're doing quite well. We are reaching many more children every single year. That helps, but of course, from a carbon perspective, that's different than just selling Lego boxes, of course, and great products that can be used for learning through play. In general, it's received very positively. Most people want to do things that are right for the planet. So there's no negative things coming up.
So how do you make it live for an individual? So I guess there's a big difference between somebody who's working in R&D in Billund versus somebody who might be sitting in the exec committee, or somebody who might be sitting in some of your regional hubs.
Yeah, so we try and nudge people with different stories, role models, where we have small videos running or articles. For example, if we take travel, for example, we are running articles with colleagues who decided to drive to a factory 5 hours away instead of taking a flight, right? And that saved a lot of emissions, right? But they pooled together in one car and drove, and they shared that on our internal communication systems. And that's what's happening right now. You've got posters everywhere, mind your trash. You sort
recycling,
etc., and just really make sure that there's notice. Remember to do that. So there's a lot of nudges around. Also, when you go travel and you book something, you're nudged. Is this the right thing? Could you do something different? Should you take the train, etc.? So that you're constantly nudged about it and evaluate what you can do better.
And do people at all levels sort of display these behaviours? So all the way from exec committees and exec sponsors all the way down to the sort of shop floor?
Well, I think so. When you go in, we still travel. So you cannot not travel in a global company where you can decide that, but that's a completely different company and a different culture as well. So at different levels, we do different things. We've had town hall meetings where the executive leadership team would have shared some of their initiatives, what they're doing, not just at the company, but also privately. One of them is that they opted in for some of them do, if they have a car, for an electrical vehicle very quickly, right? So they signed up to that as to role model to drive electrical vehicles.
But then I guess it's funny, isn't it? Because I remember speaking to, I think it was from a Page Exec client perspective, who gave all of their employees electric vehicles and then suddenly realized that their electricity bill was through the roof. And then they needed to to then put in solar panels in order to power the electric vehicles that were being charged in the forecourt of the company.
Yeah.
So I guess it's always that's the sort of challenges you're weighing up.
Yes, it is. Now, luckily with the setup of the Lego Group with the owner family investing heavily in sustainable initiatives such as solar panels, forests, etc. When we build a factory, for example, it is almost carbon neutral. I don't have the details, but it is very focused on running that as effective as possible with solar panels to make sure that there's enough electricity coming from our building as possible, water usage, etc. So it's built into from the beginning when we build a building.
Yeah, interesting. And how have external stakeholders? And I don't know if you would see this. So you sit in human resources, don't you? So obviously, your angle has been comp and bens and designing the technicalities around the bonus structures. But I'm assuming, so there are no external investors from a Lego Group perspective because it's still a privately owned company, but you're still communicating external messaging around it. So how has that been received?
Well, it's part of the value proposition of working for the Lego Group, right? So, there's many awesome things coming to work for a company like the Lego Group, such as our products, the culture, and everything else that comes with it. But more and more candidates or talent from outside also would expect a company to do this. And it's not just the talent mass, the value proposition to attract and retain our current employees, right? But it's also about our customers and consumers, so the end users, the kids out there to a large extent who expect companies to do their part, right? So it's all part of our storytelling as well to make sure that they understand that we're doing what we can to
leave the planet in a better place.
Yes.
And what's the sort of so I think you're right, and I think from a Michael Page point of view, we see that having a strong sustainability strategy and a strong sustainability ethos is a really big attraction, especially for the younger employees. And I'm assuming that was part of your thought process as well. So yes, we need to do what's right for the planet, but we also need to do what's right to make sure that we retain our employees because this is what matters to them.
Yes. Yes. It is.
Okay. Yeah.
It's, I think fundamentally the owner family, the Kirk family wants to leave the planet in a better place than they received it. And, that just is just brought out in the company everywhere. And again, the consumers, the end users, the talent, the internal, etc. The world is changing and we're just following with it. But we're following it and doing it because it's the right thing to do. Overall, I think we'll be doing it no matter what.
Yeah.
And it just has very positive consequences around. There's very few people who kind of tell you off because you do a good thing. So.
Yeah, no, and I agree. And I guess it's one of the things that I've found interesting with Lego is that my kids play Lego, and Lego Group has always been sort of highlighted as an incredible employer and an employer of choice, not just across Denmark but globally. So how have you felt that this initiative has been linked through to the kind of broader group sustainability agenda? So obviously this is a very small part of your overall emissions. So is this around including everybody in the journey, or is it because you feel this will make a massive impact from an emissions perspective?
So we're getting started. There's for sure a lot more to be done in the Lego Group, similar to many other companies that are just going on this journey. The direction right now is what's called Scope 1, 2, 3 within what we're trying to do within the science-based targets that we want to live up to. And we're working hard towards the goal that we're setting towards 2032 when we turn 100 years old. It's very important to us to get that milestone. We're not just looking at, company cars and travel, but the production of the Lego bricks is an important milestone for us as well to turn that into a more sustainable product. or the foundation, and we're working very hard on that. We went out publicly with we had a test on trying to use rPET or recycled bottles. That didn't work. It actually produced more CO2 or emissions, and we simply canceled it because it wasn't the right one. We tested it and just really tried hard to solve it, but it didn't work. And now we're trying other solutions.
And I guess that's one of the sort of the things about sustainability is that you want to celebrate the wins, but you also want to be honest about when you try something and it doesn't work, because then you enable other businesses to learn from those things. So that's, I remember reading about that, and it was quite inspiring that actually, Lego Group come out and say, we tried this and it didn't work for these reasons. So aside from reducing emissions, what are you hoping to achieve, sort of look into the future with this type of initiative?
Well, right now we're just getting started. So I think what we're trying to do is, so within the bonus program, for example, we call the principle of our bonus program is succeed together. That's how we, as the Lego Group, is we're all measured in the same way. So as we expand this program to all employees and get more into the supply chain and really make sure that we are sustainable in that, and hopefully break the famous plastic code of making them very fully sustainable. That I think that's the dream. Because this is the essence of what the Lego Group does. It's the brick and putting that into systems so that kids can learn from it and play with it and use all kinds of imaginative ideas to build. That's what we want to do, and ideally with a very sustainable product.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you ever so much, Kent. I really appreciate taking time to talk to me.
Thanks for the time.